Modern movies are now background noise we put on while scrolling our phones. It's not an accident. Listen closely and you will hear the formula. The Guardian defined the algorithm movie as bland, easy to follow, and for the so-called fans of everything. The 2025 example would be The Electric State by the Russo brothers.
15 grand.
Is it loaded?
Yes, sir.
Well, then I'll pay the tip. What's wrong with you?
A sci-fi movie that cost the studio over $320 million, quickly dropping down the top 10 list. And it gathered mediocre reviews, calling it generic, forgettable, and safe. But with over 300 million paying subscribers, Netflix can easily absorb a generic sound flop. In the past, making a movie meant a good script, original or adapted, and then getting a director with a vision and a studio to kind of oversee the process. It was art and alchemy with a potential to generate gold. But that's too risky, so they streamlined, rationalized, and regulated the process. The Netflix algorithm is actually several different algorithms measuring our viewing habits. It ranks what we watched, how long we watched, and how we rated it.
The user can find things easier, faster, or if they can find also something that they didn't even know that they were looking for, but the recommender system figures out. Because of the things you watched in the past, you actually may also enjoy this title.
Then it kind of looks for similar users, not movie lovers, users.
Yeah.
What is that algorithm?
It's really amazing that there are people in Canada that are just like you just never met them.
Yeah.
Gathering details about what we enjoyed, what genres, actors, and release year.
Personalized genres are generated using thousands of movie and TV show characteristics, including actors, storylines, characters, and time periods.
And of course, where we watch, in what language, what time, and what device we used.
You may not realize it, but every TV show and movie recommendation you see on Netflix is a highly personalized suggestion just for you.
The amalgamation of that data gives us the home screen and the recommendation system, which is personalized and unique to each viewer.
The recommendations is always going to be one of the core focuses of Netflix, because that's what lets us connect members to titles that they love.
Remember when Netflix had a 5-star rating system back in 2017? In an article from The Atlantic, Alexis C. Madrigal wrote about how a new tagging structure replaced that. Netflix breaks films into thousands of micro-genres, and it can predict what you click on, with a goal to, quote, serve the right title to the right person at the right time. The problem is that by understanding the viewing habits and slicing each movie and show into specific subgenres, Netflix learned what the majority of people watch, thus making it possible to predict what has the highest chance of success. Now, in 2018, Ted Sarandos, Netflix co-CEO, told Vulture that their slate is still 70% gut and 30% data, and that they don't really reverse engineer movies.
No, I think what we don't do is you reverse engineer great content, because I don't think that can be done. Everything is kind of execution dependent, just like it always has been.
Yeah. Hollywood's goal was always to reduce the so-called old-fashioned artistic frippery, the chaos that comes with each production. And the data-driven approach can help with that. I mean, numbers don't lie.
Of course, they're creative people, right? They don't want to have to think about algorithms and data and whatnot, right? But meanwhile, on the data side, we have this massive advantage of all this data about our members' tastes.
It leads to optimization with safe dialogue, safe music, and safe mix. What's the result of this mad science? We can't have a complicated plot.
$500 million, but we're not taking the gold.
We're taking the plane, the whole plane?
It's kind of hard to take half a plane.
Nice.
People are on their phones, they're cooking, they're cleaning, they're eating. They have to be able to jump in and out of the story without losing the storyline. We need big names and familiar voices. Of course, it can't distract us too much, as a safe, pleasing tone and style guide the direction. Bright digital colors with a flat sound mix that will look and sound good enough on every device. Because of that second screen viewing, as well as the variety of devices we watch shows and movies, sound need to be optimal on all of them. Now, this results in a flat, uniform mix, reducing dynamic range with the goal that dialogue should always be audible.
New exfil! As soon as we get clear, lose the chopper! Can you do that? Lose the chopper?
Can I lose the chopper?
Because it could be your 5.1 home theater or a mobile phone.
Wait, stop!
When Trent Reznor from 9 Inch Nails worked on a 2018 Netflix hit Bird Box, he said it was a fucking waste of time, and the music was mixed so low that no one could hear it anyway.
Take your goddamn blindfold off!
Now, there has to be a compromise, of course. Like, you won't have the same experience when you watch a show on your laptop in bed versus a surround system. But the drive towards uniformity can sacrifice dynamism for consistency. How it works is that only one mix is prepared, Atmos format. Then the Atmos decoder folds it down to whatever device you are using. So it's not a bespoke mix for each. It works as well as it can, but the mix of dialogue, effects and music will always lose out in a process.
9, we have your position in the full overview. Projecting forward now.
Now, on top of that, Netflix has its own normalization audio technology, boosting quiet dialogue and limiting loud sounds, flattening the range. Now, to be fair, they do that to combat a real problem of uneven mixes that don't translate to every device. Like, how many times have you complained that dialogue was too quiet and then explosions too loud?
If you want to create that wide dynamic range, you have no choice but to push those quieter sounds lower instead of pushing the louder sounds louder.
So explosions go up and dialogue comes down.
So it's a trade-off, a compromise in which platforms like Netflix choose a safe, albeit bland option. Even when in 2019 Netflix introduced a so-called high-quality audio and adaptive mixing, it didn't really solve the issue.
The creative vision of our partners is incredibly important to us at Netflix.
So we designed a new player feature to take our sound quality to another level. So now the sound will be more crisp, more intense, it'll be more immersive, and it'll bring the viewer closer to the story.
They were aware of the issues, but it's a hard problem to solve. You can't satisfy everyone.
As we were watching the opening of Stranger Things 2, it's a big car chase with lots of loud music, tires peeling out, lots of just intensity. And they noticed that it wasn't as crisp as it really sounded on the mix stage, which is where they do their final work.
But it's another way of trying to satisfy as many people as possible at the same time. It doesn't seem to be working because we can find endless posts with people complaining about muffled dialogue, imbalanced audio, and a constant need for subtitles or volume tweaks. Because the Atmos mix is a cinematic mix. It's the biggest one you can get. Then folding it down can result in loss of details and hard to hear dialogue. And because of that, more and more people are turning on subtitles when watching their screens. And last but not least, the content must work for the widest audience. Because it doesn't matter if you are an American or a, Polish guy living in the UK. The cultural differences, the upbringings and the different tastes don't matter. The ambient programming works for all of us. And to top it all off, we need a hook, the intro, that will capture the user within the first few seconds.
Because the average Netflix member will look at 40 or 50 titles, and they'll spend 1.5 to 2 seconds on each, and then they move on. Nothing here, and they'll go on to another entertainment option.
One interesting development that had unintended consequences was the 2017 launch of the skip intro feature. Again, driven by data, Netflix decided to opt in for convenience and retention. But the intro often acts like an anchor, with composers like Nicolas Britell saying that the whole point of the theme music is to set the tone for the story. Often, the rest of the music is linked to that main theme, and by skipping it, we are losing the important mood-setting device. Instead, we now get cold opens, where the episode starts straight away. And only after the hook we get a sort of an intro, but it's more like a title card though. Skip intro was not an artistic choice, but a result of engagement analytics data.
Skip this shit, dude. Skip. Bro, when does this game get fucking good?
And that's the formula. Because as one critic put it, Netflix doesn't care if their films are good. They just care that you watch them. Once the formula works, everyone copies it. This constant churn of content stifles originality and risk-taking. If we know what will have the highest chance of success, there is no incentive to risk money on unknown and new ideas.
Our core metric should be retention. How many people are paying into the next month? They're voting with their wallet. They're deciding if the service is valuable to them.
Music is another victim of the algorithmic formula. People say that the soundtracks remind them of royalty-free or AI-generated tracks. The music must be easy, must be fitting, fast to produce, and cheap. Plus, a few well-known pop songs at the top. Like, when was the last time you actually listened to a soundtrack from a Netflix movie? Like you would do from Interstellar, Lord of the Rings, Batman. Because remember, in a casual watching era, we can't have distractions, and music must follow conventions. Sad scene, strings, scary scene, creepy and high-pitched sounds, action, rhythm and orchestral stings. Less memorable, the better.
Yeah. Do you trust this though?
Because music is treated as an add-on, an afterthought to do as cheaply as possible.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin. This is serious. I know. This really is the world's smallest violin. See?
Initially, the rise of streaming services gave us hope. The old system was crumbling, and the new kids would break the traditional Hollywood approach. Now it turns out that the massive amount of viewership data supercharged the recycling of familiarity in pursuit of an ever-growing subscriber count and profits. Now, we don't have time to dive deep into the massive catalog, so we often just click what's on a recommended home screen. The safety guardrails lead to blunt execution. Everything kinda looks and sounds the same, with the aim of getting the comfortable 6 or maybe 7 out of 10. Not too good or not too bad. In pursuit of high-octane, action-packed movies, many mid-budget and diverse films get overlooked because platforms like Netflix distribute overnight and worldwide. The old way of pre-selling individual territories is vanishing. Of course, each country still gets content variety, but the goal is to be the single distributor with a mass market appeal. And because of how much money Netflix makes, they can opt for quantity over quality. So each time we log into the platform, there has to be something new for us. And overseeing that ridiculous amounts of content is impossible, which leads to a lot of mediocrity and downright bad productions.
Welcome to the University of Oxford. Your time here is precious. Seize it.
Does it mean that at least production crews are making money? Because Netflix spends billions a year on new content and someone has to produce it. And according to the CEO, they are nowhere near the ceiling. There are deeper issues though, overworking the crews, underpaying people, and a structure that you get paid just once with no future royalties like in the old TV days. It can also be disheartening when suddenly a project gets cancelled and all of the effort that everyone put in is gone, unfinished and buried under tons of new additions to the catalog. But the thing is, they are still making bank, which puts pressure on so-called traditional studios to adapt. Disney+, HBO, Amazon Video, Peacock and others all want a piece of the pie. But investment in new original IP takes time and money, and the risk is that it won't work. Yes, you got some platforms like Apple or, HBO before the merger that try to distance themselves from Netflix slop, creating high-quality shows and movies. And it works to an extent, but the thing is, Netflix is still winning. So it's a slippery slope, and with time, other platforms try to follow their formulaic approach, opting for sequels, remakes and reboots, and using already popular IP to produce spin-offs, like with Marvel and Star Wars. Cinema doesn't pay anymore, and to stay in the game, you have to play the game. But you know what could make it even worse? AI. Yes, the use of generative AI in Netflix production is already here, with some background shots in the electric state artificially generated. Talking to Vulture, the Russo brothers who directed the movie said, "It's all good. It already happens behind the scenes and it will only get bigger." The AI helpers that no one asked for are already a part of pretty much every software. It could be writing, graphics, audio and video. It's cheaper than training actual people, so why not use it, right? And because AI cannot think of new ideas, we'll just remix what's already here, so we can expect more derivative stories stitched up from the top 100 movies. Everything will be automated, especially fickle and risky creative business. Look, the deal is it's not all bad. There are still fantastic movies and shows out there, even though it may be harder to find them. We have more choices than ever, and cancelling subscriptions is easy. Much easier than dealing with TV networks in the past. Like, I tend to circulate between them, sign up to one, watch the best stuff, cancel, and move to another one. But the issues with the convenience, overwhelming choice, and lack of loyalty to the platforms result in the corporations trying to hook us in with any means possible. Data-driven productions offer an easy way out. But the thing is, these people are not creatives. They are not filmmakers, they are not storytellers, they are not composers, they are not designers. They are software engineers, where movies and shows, now labeled content, were added at the end. When movies are built for algorithms, the stories stop being expressive and start being safe. Once they turn into background noise, we stop paying attention, and cinema becomes content. Thanks for watching.
One more, please.